Please welcome Global Head Travel and Hospitality, Amazon Web Services, David Peller, and Chief Technology Officer of Choice Hotels, Brian Kirkland, for a conversation moderated by Skift Research Editor Jeremy Crispin.
Hi, everyone. In this session, we're going to talk about digital transformation. I think it's a topic that's easy to take for granted in today's travel and hospitality industry, but also one with huge impact on the success of our industry. I want to start this session with an observation. We might take it for granted, but if you stop and think about it, the entire process of travel feels like magic, doesn't it? Just think about what's possible in 2020. You can reserve time to safely stay in a stranger's apartment half the world away. You can chat on video with a friend across the country, or comparison shop between 100 different hotels using only your index finger. But even if these activities feel like magic, they ultimately depend on digital tools, systems, and processes to function. Something in 2020 we call digital transformation. But why does digital transformation matter to travel? Are we doing it well as an industry? And how has it been impacted by COVID-19? Over the next 25 minutes, we're going to explore the state of digital transformation. First in this presentation, and then in a conversation with two industry leaders from Choice Hotels and Amazon Web Services. So what do we mean when we use the phrase digital transformation? One of the best definitions we've found is this one on the left from CIO.com. It's a radical rethinking of how organizations in all industries use technology, people, and processes to impact their business performance. To further back that up, here's a quote on the right from David Peller at Amazon Web Services. He's going to join us live later in the session. But for now, he told Skift earlier this year, digital transformation goes to the heart of any company in the travel industry. And I think that's true. This is something that can help us stay ahead of our competitors, satisfy the needs of digital savvy customers, and help us run our businesses more efficiently. And of course, there's another benefit, helping cope with the remote work situation caused by COVID-19. If you need proof, just look at me sitting here in my home office, talking to listeners all over the world instead of standing on stage in New York. I'd love to be in New York, but this will do. And digital tools and systems are now essential to how we're coping with this unprecedented moment. And that brings me to our next slide. So the next question is, why should we care about digital transformation? After all, so much of travel is currently paused or slowly recovering. Is now the right time? And I think the answer is yes. Having a digital-first business is critically important, both now and in the future. One benefit is resilience. Whether it's an economic downturn or a change in the competitive environment, digital is helping our companies be more ready to adapt to the changes that are happening all around us. The second benefit is agility. Digital tools and processes can be adjusted as conditions change. Communication can happen among our employees much more fluidly, and software and systems can be ramped up or down as needed. Third would be efficiency. Digital transformation helps us run our companies faster, better, and with less waste. In some cases, we can even move some of our business to remote servers in the cloud. More on that later. And that can help us lower the costs we pay to install or maintain the technology we use to run our business. Last would be insights. Business generates lots of data, but it's only powerful if you can actually act on that data. And so insights help us to be smarter about how we run our companies and market to customers. Now that we've explained this importance of digital transformation, I want to explore how those of us in travel and hospitality are actually following through. How is our industry doing in its efforts to become digital first? To find out, Skift partnered with Amazon Web Services earlier this spring on a survey about digital transformation. We polled close to 1,000 travel and hospitality executives around the world from all sectors: aviation, hospitality, online travel sites, cruises, and restaurants, to name a few. I should also note these are self-identified decision makers. These are ultimately the people who are deciding on technology and IT for their organizations. And we asked them to rate their company's success embracing digital transformation. What do we find? Let's dig into some of the results. So I think the best place to start is by looking at what digital business activities are the highest priority right now. That should tell us how our industry thinks about digital, right? And what we found is that a lot of the industry's work today focuses on customer-facing data and experience. 43% told us they're focused on gathering digital analytics to understand customer behavior. Other top priorities were front-end customer experience on websites or mobile apps, e-commerce, and then also building creative content for digital. And all of this is no surprise, right? We work in a very customer-centric business. It's something we've heard throughout this morning's sessions. And especially now when the industry is working to provide safe ways to help travelers venture back out into the world, our survey respondents are saying that they're using their digital capabilities to ultimately serve those customers better. The next thing I want to touch on is a subject that's already come up a lot today. I'm sure we'll have more of it today, COVID-19. We all know how much this is impacting our livelihoods in the travel industry and business operations as a whole. But I think it's important to remember this is also a moment of transformational change across all industries. And if we as a travel industry recognize not just the challenge, but also the opportunity, this is something where we can seize the moment to make our businesses stronger, we'll be better prepared to thrive in the future, and no matter what happens to come next. One of the big questions about COVID-19 is how it might impact investment in digital transformation. With such a big impact right now on travel demand from consumers, you might think companies would have cut back some of their funding in this area to save money. And when the survey was taken in the spring, COVID was having a big impact on short-term travel spending. That's this chart that you see on the left. But as we see on the right, that was offset by sustained enthusiasm to continue investing in digital. Nearly 80% of our respondents said it was much more or somewhat more important to proceed. And so in spite of all that's happened in 2020, digital transformation remains a top priority. And on this same topic of COVID and digital transformation, there are signs that it's helping to accelerate the rollout of some technology plans. There's been a lot of talk about using leading-edge digital customer experience tools to serve customers. Contactless technology is one example. This would be something like a touchless kiosk at the airport. And before COVID-19, this tech might have been added slowly to various companies' businesses over the next 5 years, right? This is a sort of long-term process. Instead, we now have companies like United Airlines telling us that they've rapidly moved up deployment because of COVID-19. We have a few other United speakers on the lineup during today's forum, and tomorrow you may hear them talk more about this. Next topic I want to dig into is data and analytics. We talked a few slides ago about how travel companies are prioritizing digital analytics as part of their strategies. After all, we hear so much talk in 2020 about data and the disciplines that then informs. That could be things like personalization, machine learning, or predictive analytics. But the question to ask about data is if companies in our industry actually feel confident using it to improve their businesses. We'll look at some of the survey results on that topic now. So we all know businesses today are literally drowning in data. They've got data about their customers, operations, they've got marketing data, distribution channel data, all these different types of data. But with all that information floating around, are companies actually using it to improve their decision-making, to be more strategic? So far, the answer seems to be mixed. In our survey, a little over a third of our respondents told us that their ability to use data was just average. That was the largest proportion of responses. But there is some room for optimism here. About a third said that their ability to use data was better than average, while 13% said it was excellent. On this same point about data, we also asked travel industry respondents to rate their analytics programs. Again, we find the results are somewhat mixed. Over 2/3 of survey respondents said they have challenges using data, whether that was budget, lack of time, or simply having no visibility into customer habits. And I think this is a big opportunity for travel brands across all sectors. As the analytical tools become more accessible, cheaper, more powerful, that's going to have a big impact on the industry's capabilities moving forward. To further drive this point home about the increasing power of data processing abilities, one technology that's starting to make a big impact is machine learning. You probably heard this term in recent years. What we're really talking about is the ability for computers to analyze sets of data and find hidden patterns. How this works depends on the company and the business goal, but this is a great example here from Ryanair. As the CTO of Ryanair, John Hurley, explained in a recent interview, the airline is actually using machine learning tools to personalize the deals and offers that makes available to passengers and to simplify their flight booking experience. And the takeaway here for me is that this digital technology is helping Ryanair make these experiences a little bit simpler, more relevant, and also more convenient for customers. So the last area I want to touch on in our presentation is the technology stack and cloud computing. When we use the word stack, we don't mean a literal stack of computers. We're referring to the choices that travel businesses make in terms of hardware and software. And of course, cloud computing is another area that's increasingly popular. The term cloud refers to on-demand delivery of information technology over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. And you can use these resources for all sorts of reasons: data storage, software, raw computing power, even beyond. And when we take a look at how those in the industry are investing in technology and cloud, our survey found growing evidence that there are numerous benefits here. Probably the most important is having a flexible, agile business. In other words, you can quickly adjust your use of computing resources up or down very quickly as your business grows, or even if it were to shrink. Same is true of scalability of cloud technology. Again, you're not physically installing computers, or you have less installations, and a lot more is accessed online. So it's much easier to adjust how much you're paying for those services week to week or month to month. And then the third most popular answer was enhancing customer experience. We talked earlier about how a key digital priority in travel is serving customers. And our survey respondents are telling us that cloud infrastructure helps them to do that. So if you need more evidence of how quickly cloud technology is impacting travel, take a look at this quote from Miguel Angel Cole Alonso from TUI. As he notes, cloud technology has been instrumental in helping his organization to weather the economic challenges of COVID-19. Instead of having physical technology that they have to manage or oversee, they're able to quickly adjust their cloud technology investment in response to market changes, saving them critical dollars. And that's a strategy that's not just happening during COVID-19. As he points out, that's something they're going to continue with moving forward. On the last few slides, we talked about some of these benefits of the cloud, but the logical question that follows is, are travel businesses actually using this approach? So far, it appears to be early days. 63% said they're in the early middle stages of moving operations and computing to the cloud. So there's still plenty of opportunity to get ahead of the competition as we figure out how to future-proof our businesses. So that provides a key summary of some of the takeaways from this year's report. As we see, COVID-19 is really emphasizing the growing importance of digital transformation in travel. But as we think about how the industry is going to evolve, there's lots of exciting work still ahead of us. Last but not least, for anyone that wants to check out the full results from this year's survey, you can download a full copy of this report at skift.com/AWS. So to help us now put some of these themes into context, I'm joined by David Peller from AWS and Brian Kirkland from Choice Hotels to tell us a bit more. Brian, David, welcome both to the Skift Global Forum. We're really happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I want to start by asking you both. One of the most pressing topics right now on everyone's mind is COVID-19. Give me a snapshot of the impact you've seen on your respective businesses from COVID-19. Brian, maybe you can start first.
Sure, and first off, thanks for having me here. For those of you that aren't familiar with Choice, we have more than 7,000 hotels in over 40 countries, and we represent 1 in 10 hotels in the United States. The interesting thing for us is that we're not just a hospitality company, we're also a franchise company, and we're a technology company. So we provide software and services for all of those small business owners, as well as over 200 million guests. Now, obviously the impact to the entire hospitality space has actually been pretty significant. I'm pleased to share that Choice has outperformed the industry due to our history of innovation, as well as our strengths in leisure and driving to markets. When the pandemic started, we didn't shut down, we actually stepped up. We focused on our franchisees. We quickly pivoted, we responded with programs that changed and matched the guest preferences that are evolving with things like grab and go breakfast or housekeeping on demand or contactless check-in. We actually redeployed hundreds of our employees across the entire company directly to assist the franchisees with everything from applications to federal aid or driving operational efficiencies. As a result, 90% of our hotels actually kept their business running even in the worst week of the crisis.
Wow. David, you obviously have more of a macro view of what's happening across travel. What's your take on how COVID-19 has impacted the industry?
Yeah, Jeremy, thank you for having me. Amazon Web Services is humbled to work with companies across all segments of the travel and hospitality industry, including leaders such as Airbnb, Expedia Group, Korean Air, McDonald's, United Airlines, and of course, Choice Hotels. as they look to accelerate cloud adoption. It's this breadth and diversity of our customers that grants us really a unique perspective to recognize some common themes and challenges during this period of disruption like the one we're experiencing right now. In working with our customers as they manage through disruption, we've really observed three main phases. Response, which is when they react initially. Continuity as they adjust to the ongoing operating environment, and then recovery as they build and move forward. And these are not linear. Companies and different geographic regions are obviously going to go through these phases in different ways and in different times. But one constant is that we see customers turning to technology to assist them to navigate this uncertainty. We've already seen some incredible innovations come out of this time, but one that really sticks to my mind is a company utilizing technology to actually try and benefit the entire industry. It's the guest acquisition platform SiteMinder, who created the World Hotel Index, which analyzes a tremendous amount of data to predict travel demand by region, and is actually helping accommodation providers think about how they can prioritize resources in line with recovery.
So interesting to hear how different companies are managing this, David. I'd like to ask you both, would you say COVID-19 has changed the travel industry's strategy for how it prioritizes digital transformation? Or is this event something that's just accelerating trends that were already in motion kind of happening? Brian, maybe you can start.
I'd actually say it's a little of both. Our cloud-first strategy dates back to 2005, and we were the first major hotel company to commit to going all in with AWS. I believe companies like Choice, who are already down that transformation journey, we have a head start, and we're able to react and adapt quickly. But those who haven't started, they're struggling and they're playing catch up. And the other thing we're seeing is we're actually seeing an acceleration of transformation in many ways, because the change appetite from our guests, from our franchisees, and even from our leadership team, it's increased. Everyone realizes that change is necessary, and red tape that used to be there just is evaporated, honestly. So for Choice, even though we cut costs and we refocused our efforts, we did not stop our major transformation efforts. We're still migrating to the cloud, we're still rolling out new technologies, and we're still investing in the transformation initiatives that were started before COVID.
David, what's your take on this?
Well, as Skift highlighted in the digital transformation report, I think 78% of respondents now think that digital transformation is more important than ever. Your quantitative research, I think, really mirrors what we've heard anecdotally from customers around the world. And yes, many trends that were already happening in the industry are now accelerating. One of the big trends right now is a focus on efficiency and cost savings, although point to me at a time in history when that's ever been out of style. I mean, AWS, I think, enables customers to trade capital investment for variable expense and only pay for technology as they consume it. And it's that variable expense is also going to be much lower with cloud than what customers could achieve for themselves. We saw the example of Melia Hotels in Spain, who were able to save almost 60% in the face of the pandemic by aligning their technology capacity to the business demand that they saw. Cloud, also enables customers to innovate much faster because they can really focus their highly valuable resources on developing applications and services that are going to differentiate their business and transform the customer experience. So instead of the undifferentiated heavy lifting of managing infrastructure and data centers. So we know contactless, for example, is really accelerating as a standard today, and airport passenger experience company Elenium Automation, for example, was already rolling out a contactless airport check-in kiosk, but when COVID hit, they were able to adapt really quickly to add health screenings to those kiosks and confirming before passengers checked in, which is just an incredible pace of innovation.
So, Brian, I want to talk a bit about your digital strategy. Obviously, this is something that's been in motion for some time. What have you learned about implementing this strategy? What's made it a success? Are there key themes there or best practices you've observed?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for hours, actually. But because Choice invested in digital transformation for many years, we've been able to react very quickly on a lot of fronts, and that's an important byproduct. So an interesting example actually of where that's helped in the pandemic was right at the beginning. In early March, our CEO came to me and he said, Brian, we want to run a test, we'll call it a test, the entire company working from home at the same time in 2 days. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like many of you, we didn't have the VPN capacity to handle 100% of our employees on VPN at the same time, working all day long, let alone for months on end. So because we're already far along in that cloud journey, we were able to look at Amazon and look at standing up a new VPN solution very quickly that was able to scale up and meet that demand. And that test was a huge success. The test, we actually never went back to the office. That's just one example where our transformation is paying off. And I could cite a ton of other examples. We're able to pivot quickly or better leverage data to make use of what we have in the cloud.
I can only imagine the panic that must ensue when someone says, 2 days from now, everyone in the company is going to be remote, right?
It is pretty fun.
Can I ask you both about data? This is such a broad catch-all term, but it's used a lot in conjunction with digital transformation, whether it's big data, analytics, insights, whatever you want to call it. What trends are you both seeing in terms of how the travel industry is using data in terms of decision-making? Can you give us some concrete examples? And Brian, maybe we start.
Okay. An interesting fact that the pandemic introduced is that a lot of our industry benchmarks or the KPIs and data models that were valid last year, they're just not valid anymore. So too much has changed. Predicting consumer demand for travel in the near term is so complicated that actually a lot of the major hotel companies aren't even providing earnings forecasts. So companies that have an emphasis on data and are able to leverage capabilities like artificial intelligence or machine learning are better positioned to adjust quickly and then make data-driven decisions. And we have a bunch of examples where we're leveraging our data to do things like personalize real-time to changing guest preferences or optimize franchisee costs or even handle new fraud patterns. With our cloud digital platforms, we're finally able to leverage all of the data that we have that were just not possible in the past. There's just too much data, too complicated to do. And AWS has helped make it possible for us to truly leverage our data and drive real business value out of it.
David, what's your take here?
Yeah, I think it's amazing how much analytics are actually being done in the cloud today. And it's never been easier to collect and store and analyze and share data than it is today in the cloud. And that's because it's not only much more cost effective with AWS, but also the analytics services we provide really change the realm of possibilities. I think travel and hospitality companies are sitting on tremendous amounts of data. The challenge often, and this came out in the report, is getting actionable insights from that data. So one of the biggest reasons for this, of course, is that data silos that have been built up within organizations. While this sounds basic, we hear it time and time again about how companies need to focus in this area. And so actually the foundation here is storage, and most companies in the cloud are using Amazon S3 as their storage and data lake solutions. And AWS also offers the most analytics capabilities that helps turn that data into insights that improve operations and the customer experience. For instance, there's always a lot of talk around personalization, but again, to achieve this, you really need good data. We've seen customers like Choice Hotels really benefit from this, as well as customers that choose to use services such as Amazon Personalize, which leverages the same personalization technology that enables Amazon.com to achieve relevant recommendations through every interaction.
Well, there's certainly a lot happening in the realm of data, but you mentioned cloud in your answer, David, and I think in the short amount of time we have left, I'd love to hear a little bit about the role that cloud computing plays in digital transformation as our final thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the term cloud computing refers to the on-demand delivery of IT resources through the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So instead of buying and owning and maintaining your own data centers and servers, you can deploy technology such as compute, storage, databases, and other services on an as-needed basis. Think of it as similar to in our homes, how we flip a switch and the lights come on and the power company essentially sends us electricity. I think customers also find that moving to the cloud really is going to drive their agility and their innovation, and in turn, more experimentation, all of which is greatly needed in this time. And so really, if you look at that, I think AWS has the most comprehensive machine learning and artificial intelligence services, the broadest and deepest set of Internet of Things services and analytics services, that so customers really can collect and process, analyze, and then make actionable all of that data. It's the ways in which travel and hospitality companies now are using the full spectrum of these services is both inspiring, but also enabling the digital transformation that Brian and Choice have referred to.
It's a challenging time, but also very inspiring in terms of the potential, right? Brian, David, I think we can leave it there. Thank you so much for your time today.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Jeremy, thank you, Brian.